All right, it's time to talk about a fairly important issue here from a content creator's standpoint. YouTube and other sites are really trying to drive us apart. And I've noticed over the years people splintering apart into cliques and then splintering apart into their own sort of content creation, where we were all working together for a prolonged period of time. And that was sort of the golden age of content creation. So roughly 2014 through 2017 or thereabouts, we had lots of debates. There were blood sports and things like that. People generally were trying to get along. These days, unfortunately, people have splintered up, and there are basically three groups of content creators. There are those of us that are part of the hashtag Rebel Alliance, if you want to use the cringe term, who are basically in exile, being abused by the algo and trying to work together to make good content for people. There are those that quit outright. I remember Tara McCarthy, for example. I think she moved to Idaho, if I remember correctly. And, Brittany Venti, she's semi-retired, and a bunch of other content creators. They just sort of wandered off because I think they got blackpilled in some cases. And then you have creators who aren't working with anyone. They've formed their own little shows and sometimes become openly antagonistic towards other people. You would think of the bread tubers or something like that. In many cases, astroturfed individuals if they're from the left wing of politics. And a lot of people also have abandoned political and news related content because it's unrewarded basically by some of these sites. And so what I think we need to do is form rank. We need to reorganize. This has begun already. You see this on Rumble, for example. On Rumble, time slots and the organization of shows is basically a full-on lineup. We're going to be moving, for example, the quarter cast is now going to be at 2 p.m. That's to make room for Russell Brand. He wanted the 1 p.m. slot, I guess. And or Jeremy wanted the 2 p.m. slot. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not in the know on that. And so we've got a star-studded lineup because Jeremy has organized the show well. This is exactly what we need to do. Creator on creator. That is, we work together. We stand together. If we don't do that, the legacy media is going to come roaring back and they're going to absorb people's minds and do stupid stuff. We have intelligence and the capability of making shows for number one, far less cost. Number two, they're much more intelligent. Number three, we're much more eclectic and interesting. And number four, we're just better in every goddamn potential way than imagine like a CNN show. The legacy media right now is falling apart, but they're still firing at us. They are not dead yet, unfortunately. It would be nice. It would be a much better world if MSNBC did not exist. It would be a better world if CNN did not exist. It'd be a better world if CBS just went under and went the way of the dinosaur. I mean, they basically are brontosauruses at this point. Their particular style doesn't even hold up to the rest of the legacy media, if you know what I mean. It would be nice. That's not the reality yet. Unfortunately, creators have begun to cannibalize one another. In fact, some of them are doing basically what the legacy media does. They all try to work together, but they also backstab one another constantly. And I think that unless content creators have openly attempted to do so, so openly attempted to stab somebody else in the back, thrown them under the bus in some way, shape, or form, generally speaking, we need to defend one another. That means looking at one another's content, sharing it out. That means reposting it and liking it and all of that sort of thing. For instance, we saw Tim Pool. He airdropped on the quartercast both days that I was on this last week. We had, what, 40,000 people watching at the same time? And so if we simply roll things over from slot to slot, especially on places like Rumble, BitChute, etc., new tech, we can defeat the legacy media. They wish that they had that many people watching and not just passively. They wish that they had that much engagement. There's a reason why so many legacy media websites have closed down their comment section. Well, I wonder why. Is it because 90% of the comments were telling you that you suck? Probably. That might be a contributing factor. This has been happening, by the way, for a while. Back in the day, for example, God, this was like 2011 or something. I used to go to CNN articles and I would interact with the chat until they banned me, of course. This was predictable. And the chat was moving really well and everything was great. There were lots and lots of comments on the articles. Then they shut it down. And I noticed that they shut it down around the time that most of them became critical of the news that was being reported. This is not unique, by the way, to CNN. Most legacy media sites at this point do not appear to have an open commenting capability. And this is why Gab actually introduced the idea of having a commenting system for news articles and things like that, current events and so forth, that was separate from the actual main sites, um, and was very useful for a while there. There were a lot of people participating. This is why Twitter, in having community notes, has effectively improved upon the basic structure of social media. It really has. People can participate and point out the flaws in news articles. Again, there's a reason why some of these news sites no longer have Twitter accounts. I wonder why that could possibly be. Could it be because you're full of shit and people are constantly pointing that out? No, again, it's a great surprise why that would happen. But creators, those of us with significant audiences, we're talking in the tens plus thousand range, need to pull together. And I've been championing this basic idea now for the better part of a decade. If we don't stand together, we will lose. That's simply the case. It doesn't matter. You know a content creator who's worth several $1 million. Okay, that's great. Supposedly I'm worth 2 million, but I wish. Sadly, I'm not. Uh, there are content creators that have more wealth. And so it's like, okay, they can enjoy a basic existence for the rest of their lives. They've already made the money. They've got the stocks and the bonds and the commodity portfolio and all of these other things, and they can make it. Not every one of them is in that boat. And so what we need to do is pull together. We need to form a goddamn army effectively and bombard the legacy media out of existence entirely. It'll be like a military maneuver, actually. We're capable of doing it. Some of us have increasingly large presences on a large number of platforms. We're capable of coordinating attacks against the legacy media in order to fact check them, in order to archive everything. That's a movement that I'm part of, to deprive them of ad revenue. We're capable of trying to get people on their shows to debate them. We're capable of crippling the legacy media, breaking their legs backwards effectively with a goddamn crab hammer. But there's no central organizational capacity being employed to actually do this. The closest thing I can think of is actually the movement to register Republican voters, which is, and as a non-Republican, though, I still admire this, by Scott Presler, actually. I think that's the closest thing you have to a centralized organizational capacity. Honestly, he should probably be running the show with regards to any content creator centrality. It certainly won't be me. I'm good at making content. I'm not very good at organization, just saying. And also, then we have to resolve the ever-present issue that if I'm going to team up with Razor Fist, he's going to have to eat a pineapple pizza, and I'm going to have to eat a well-done steak or something like that. So we're going to have to negotiate. We have to have an even Steven sort of trade. It's going to be a fun time had by all. And also, he can take me out on the motorcycle, but he might spill out because, my balance is not necessarily the greatest. Just a joke. That's about all. Peace out.